wonder if I had the wrong one. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hold on a second, please, because I had the wrong presentation. I think. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get the yeah, we are in the right one. Okay. All right. So I put the wrong cover. Okay, guys, welcome to the call. We review already several skills. Did several skills before. We talk about prospecting, and this is in chapter 4. We talk about the skill 5, that is inviting people. That, by the way, is my favorite because I think I read that chapter several times and I listened to the audio several times, and I watched the videos because I went to the event at Eric Worre, and he also presented this, and I watched it probably a couple of times too. And then we have presenting. Presenting we saw last week, and it's mostly about using the tools. And as again, if we master this skill, there's nothing that can stop us. This business is amazing. A good example, and I want to acknowledge Emily and her husband Hayden Barbara. They just became the youngest millionaires in Isogenes. Both of them just turned 26, and they hit $1 million. And the amazing thing is that their income keep climbing. They're in the top 25 now. And to give you an idea, to be in the top 25, you had to make huge amount of money, being very close to the 6-figure per month. I'm not talking per year, I'm talking the per month, or in the 6-figure per month. Also, I have to say, Jimmy Smith, I don't know if you know, but he had surgery a couple of weeks ago, and he got a complication. He had meningitis, spinal meningitis, but the good news is I talked to him this morning, and he said that he feels better. And I say, how do you know you feel way better? I said, well, not only I feel better, but I am prospecting. I'm sponsoring a couple more people. We were laughing, but the interesting thing, the reason I'm bringing this up is, first of all, send some energy and your prayers to Jimmy Smith to recover faster, although he is obviously doing much better. And the second thing is to also acknowledge something interesting. Jimmy Smith has his best 2 weeks in history in Isogenes while he was in the hospital. He has the biggest check, he and his family together, that were really high 6-figure in a week. I'm not going into a number because I don't remember, I didn't write it down. But anyway, and all this because he knows these skills. I mean, prospecting or making your list is the same thing, inviting people, and then presenting, and then this follow skill that is attributed, and Jimmy talks a lot about that, and this is follow-up. Now, it is interesting because there are a lot of people that they talk to a lot of people, but this is I guess the weakness, and that's what has been my weakness too, the follow-up. Now, interesting because Jimmy, as I said, he said the fortune is in the follow-up, and he's right. But remember, it's important that you have the other skills, because without the other skills, there's no way to have follow-up. As simple as that. Anyway. One of the things that is I love about follow-up is, and we are going to go in a second there, is that it's actually when you start creating a relationship with the person that you're talking. And the follow-up, one of the reasons most people fail, I think there are many reasons, but it's because I think fear is one of them. Now, many people are great about getting names. I know a couple of people in my organization. I mean, these guys can go out to the streets and they come back to 20, 30, or 40 names, and I know exaggerating, and Alex knows who we are talking about. I know people that are great inviters. They know how to get people to the tools, and they can get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people to tools. But then their challenge is the follow-up. They don't call anybody. One of them is a guy that collects probably 10 to 15 business cards per day. Imagine that's over 200 to 300 or more in a month. However, at the end of the month, he had no follow-up with one of them, not one. And that's been a challenge for many people. And I think one of the reasons fear, they're afraid of what they said. Now, Eric Worre says that in order to master this skill, we had to be aware of certain concepts. And it's interesting because when I read his book, I got it. I say, okay, I think I know because I had not internalized these concepts, one of the concepts. But anyway, I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the first one is follow-up is doing what you said you would do. Now, this makes sense. I understood this one. This is so important. If you say that you are going to do something, do it. You say you are going to call at a certain time, do it. And I've seen that a lot of people, they say, okay, I call you, I send you the video today, and I call you tomorrow, and they forgot. This is a concept that I thought everybody was following it because this part was not my hangout, my problem. But this is so important. Follow-up is doing what you said you would do. Really important. Also, it's really important that you are early in anything, especially a presentation. When you are going to a presentation, make sure you are at least 5 minutes to 10 minutes earlier if you are going one-on-one or a meeting or something like that. It's better to be early than on time and be late. Now, concept number 2, the only reason to have an exposure is to set up to the next exposure. This was interesting because although this was not the main thing that I have a challenge with, I was not too clear on that until I realized something very interesting. This concept took me a while to understand. In our mind, we believe that after a presentation, the individual had to sign up. That's not the case. More than 75% of the people sign up after several exposures. Now, this is hard to understand for some people with traditional sales background like me, because I was in real estate and in other sales, and I always was looking for ways to make sure that I closed the sale right away, and that was the way that we were taught. But this is a very important concept. The only reason to have an exposure is to set up the next exposure. And let me tell you a little more what Eric Worre said, because this is a really an eye-opener. And I remember when I read it the first time, I kind of thought, wow, this is interesting. But I think by the time I read it the second time is when I got the whole understanding. It is why one of the worst questions to ask after you present or send a tool to an individual, it is, what do you think? And the reason is because the answer is going to be vague in most cases, and you may be closing the doors with the prospect. You are closing the doors for no other follow-up. This is really powerful. Now, I never ask, what do you think? I ask a different questions, and it's the same one that he asked. But I didn't realize that if you ask, what do you think, you are closing the doors in most cases with a prospect. And that's a mistake that I would say 90% of the people do. And that's because this is something that's even taught in sales programs, but it doesn't apply to network marketing. And even in sales, I think it's not the right question. The best question is, what do you like the best? And as you know, I always been using this. Actually, I started using this when I was in Isogenics in my first year because I realized that was a much better question. But the reason is because whatever the person answers, it will be the reason for a second exposure. I also like to say, what else do you like? That's my part. Now, Eric only one, but I like to answer two. But this was really powerful. When I understood that the main reason, the reason I was asking this question is because in my mind, I was making sure that the person was convincing himself or herself. And some of you that have been in my trainings and follow-up, that's what I used to say. But I didn't realize that also was a way to create a reason for a second exposure in case the person was not ready. Think about that. Why? Because they like something. And the reason when you ask what else do you like, you are adding one more. Let me go a little deeper on that because this is really cool. Let's see. Now, let's go to the follow-up. And let's continue on this because this is going to connect right now. Remember, you asked, what do you like? What else do you like? What if you do follow-up and your prospect has not seen the video? This is part of the follow-up. The best ways to answer is, that's okay, I understand. Sometimes life gets busy. When do you think you could do it? For sure, for sure. And by the way, I put for sure twice. It's not because it's a grammar mistake or anything like that. That is actually the very important. Eric Worre said that when he started using this in his follow-up, his follow-ups went up. When I mean follow-up went up, he was having people to review the tools faster, or even going to a presentation. If you invite in a presentation, the for sure is interesting. It has the effect that has on a person. Now, some people say, well, that doesn't sound like good English. Well, what do you prefer, to have sound really good or to sound bad English and then to go all the way laughing to the bank? Think about that. Now, it's why I started using this after I read the book, because I never heard this. for sure, for sure. And I realized that, yes, you can see a difference on your follow-ups. Eric say, interesting that this phrase, that's okay, I understand sometimes life gets busy. When do you think you could do it? For sure, for sure. Eric Ward says that you say the same thing every time you follow up until the prospect review the tool or come to the meeting, etc. In other words, you call somebody today, okay, when you watch, and then you call tomorrow, you call. Most people do this. They never call back, or they get upset, or something like that. You keep your posture, you keep doing it over and over again until the person is going to say, whoa, I better review, watch the video for sure, for sure. But it's interesting because some of you, again, the mind, your mind is saying, that sounds stupid. I am not going to do it. Guys, there are a lot of things that sound stupid that are very profitable. And this is one of them. And in my case, it didn't sound stupid, but I was thinking, well, I wonder if that's why to repeat always the same thing, but it works. And remember, you want to be successful in your business, and this is so important. That's why I'm staying here for a little while. And remember, this phrase is really simple. That's okay. I understand sometimes life gets busy. And in other words, you are not criticizing the person. When do you think you could do it? For sure, for sure. And when 2 or 3 times happen, the person is going to say, whoa, I owe something to Eric. Sometimes, or to whatever, or your name, obviously. But now, sometimes people never going to answer back, and that's okay. You still follow up once in a while. Some people get upset because they say, I call this person, doesn't answer the telephone anymore. Just keep connecting with the person, email, etc., without being a pain. But and again, some people don't do follow-up because they think they're a pain. But guys, we have a great opportunity. We have a great way for them that they're going to change their life. It's better to do follow-up. Now, let me keep going on this one because this is really powerful again. One of the things that also, this concept 3, and you probably heard this before. I heard all this my life. It takes an average of 4 to 6 exposure for the average person to join. Also, we heard the same for people that have a background and sell something similar. Now, but one of the biggest misunderstandings in this business is the phrase, some will, some won't, so next. Okay, hold on a second, please. That phrase has damaged a lot of business. Some will, some won't. So what is the one, by the way, so what is the one that's missing? Some will, some won't, so what? Next. I missed that one. The reason is because if people that repeat this to themselves all the time, they're not going to do follow-up. They're going to expect the person to say yes or no the first time, and that's it. And if they say no, it's final. Even if they say maybe, it's final. Now, the truth is that most people need a follow-up. Now, I didn't, in my case, I need a lot more follow-up, not 4 to 6. I have 40 exposures, as they say. Now, it took me 10 months, but this is really important what he said. Yes, you show urgency when talking to somebody, but too much pressure turns people off. Be patient. Really important. Again, you always show urgency when talking to somebody else, but too much pressure turns people off. Be patient. Now, some people may sign up right away, and it happens, but most will not, and some will take months or even years. Some people say, yeah, I don't want to wait years. I have an example in Jimmy Smith again. Jimmy Smith, his reentry, he maxed it out with a guy that he was following up for 3 years. He finally signed up. 6 months later, he was maxed out. That means an extra $700,000 a year. Not bad for consistency and for doing follow-up. But again, the key here is to be patient. Now, the exposures do not have to take weeks. Fast is better. And here's an example. Eric says, if you have them check out a video, then join a conference call, then try the product, if they have to try the product, then get on a webinar, then participate in a 3-way call, then come to a live meeting if they live in the same area, or a different combination of exposures, and you can do that in 1 week. You gain the opportunity to really think about how this could change their lives. And this is, think about this. Most people, they only have one exposure. They send one link to a video, but the cool thing is to send another video, to sit down with them, to do a conference call, to do a 3-way call. All those are exposure. and all of them can happen in 1 week, even in a couple of days. It's why I say again, you don't have to wait months to sign up somebody. That's what you're thinking. Many people are going to sign up in the first week, and the reason is because the multiple exposures. So important, the multiple exposures, different ways of exposures, and the reason is because every person is different on how they assimilate the information. Also, you need repetition because the first time, in my case, the first time, even that our pay plan is so simple, I didn't get it. It's just 2U to plus 2 and then plus 2, and then you repeat the process and keep doing the same thing. And I didn't get it the first time. I thought that Jimmy has something, the plan has something else, and Jimmy didn't tell me. And it's why at first I couldn't get the pay plan in isogenics. Again, even though it's so darn simple, simpler than any other plan that I ever seen in the industry. But again, yeah, you have to have patience. But again, you don't have to wait months in order to sign up somebody. It could happen the whole. If a person needs multiple exposures, those multiple exposures could be done in days or even a week, or in other words, doesn't have to go forever. And that's one of the reasons people don't like to do follow-up, because they say, "Oh, I'm wasting my time." You're not. Remember, most people, 75% of the people, come after the 4 to 6 follow-up. Now, and you say, well, next week we will continue this skill. What do you mean, George? Well, the reason is because this, for those of you that read the book, and I hope everybody's reading the book and read this chapter, and now you know why I'm doing this the next week. And the reason is because I want to open to questions, because next week, the second part of follow-up is so important that I deserve a separate webinar. And this one is how to deal with objections and excuses. And the reason, because that's part of the follow-up. Follow-up, you're going to have objections and excuses or questions. It doesn't have to be just objections. And we were going to be talking how is going to, we are going to do that. Now, I know people are saying, well, this took just a few minutes, but I want to open to questions, but not only about this chapter, but the chapters before, because guys, again, these skills are so powerful. And I've been in network marketing since 1992, and I have to say this book put it in my head everything in order. I knew most of the stuff, and again, you have seen me training forever. You know that a lot of those things I've been teaching, but what did is put in order more the concepts, and even to bring back some ideas that I have forgotten to teach on trainings. And it's why this book is the best tool for a person to become a professional networker. Yeah, there are other things that we want to learn when we are prospecting, like how to get more leads using social media, etc. And that's cool. But even if we do just the basics that are in this book, you can be really successful. We did a seminar, a local seminar here, where we went through social media. I'm going to, obviously, it was 8 hours. It's something that you cannot do on the internet. People don't have a patience for 8 hours. However, I'm going to be preparing a series of webinars to cover similar to what we did on Saudi. But again, to be successful, you don't need that. That's something that makes the business faster, easier, because you are going to learn how to find more leads. But we have enough information in the webinars to do all that. But the reason these skills are so important, again, is because that you want to become a professional. You don't want to be just a poser or amateur. You want to be a professional. Professionals are the ones that have the big checks. But anyway, and of course, and this is a side effect, and many times we forget about, professionals are the ones that change the most lives. Think about that. Because you attract more people, you reach more people, obviously more people are going to be benefit. But anyway, Alex, are you there?
Yes, George.
Yeah, you have to tell me, oh, I don't know where this came, the questions, because I cannot see them.
Yes. By the way, for those of you that are new with us, and we have several new people joining us today, if you look at the top right of your screen, the GoToWebinar control panel, there should be a chat box where you can enter your questions. Just go ahead and enter any of your questions in there.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that you are reading the book. The chapters are easy to read. They're not really long. Probably one of the longest chapters are the one about inviting, and this one about follow-up. But anyway, okay.
And
Go
by
ahead,
the way,
Alex.
George, since you're mentioning that, reading the book and the shortness of the chapters, I timed it, and I think you can probably read it in less than 4 hours. I think it's more like 3 hours for the
The
whole
whole
book.
book?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
uh,
took me longer because every time, especially when
George.
I was in the chapter of on inviting, that again is my favorite. Whoa, I just was taking so many notes that that one took me by itself. You can read it probably in 15 minutes, but 10 to 15 minutes. But it took me a few hours to go through that chapter because I keep taking notes and listening to the. It's funny. I was listening at the CD at the same time, taking notes, listening to CD, taking notes, listening. And then when I got the videos from that event, I watched the videos. Even though it's the same thing, it's just that, and now I believe that I mastered that because it's so easy for me to invite people and the follow up. I'm becoming way better on follow up. And when I read this chapter the first time, I went kind of quick. I'm probably because I knew that I was that was my weakness part in the business, and I didn't want to read about my weak part. But then I went back. Or I think it was when I was listening in the car to the cities. I put it on my iPhone actually, and I was listening to it, and I said, okay, this deserves to go back to that chapter, and that's why I read it again, and well, and I love it, and now I love this chapter.
Yeah, and actually, I've read the book several times. I'm on my fifth time right now. And one great way of reading it is simply follow along. I follow on my iPad. I have the Kindle app, and I also listen to the audio version and read and listen at the same time. So it is a great way to uh, get this embedded in your head. And most of us already know exactly what Eric is talking about, and we know most of what there is to know. But Eric puts it together in such a concise way that it finally clicks.
Yeah.
So let me just see here. And by the way, George, there's a question here about. Hold on one second. Let me just read.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, no, let me just get that question. I lost it here on my screen. And the question is about. Hold on one second. I'm simply. Oh, it's what do you say when you call uh, in your follow up? When you call, what question do you ask people?
Yes, we are going to go into that, by the way. That's part of next week. But the first question already was on this training is what do you like the best? The next one is what else do you like? Because that's going to be the opening, and there are many reasons. The ones that I always believe is the reason, and I think there are strong reasons, is that you want to see to make sure that the person see the positive on what you send to them. And also, it's the reason I repeat the question, or what else do you like, is because I want to show them that there are at least two things that they like. Now, but that's the first question. The next questions, and by the way, I did a training in the past. I actually went through the whole question, but the following question is how much money would you like to earn? And by when? How many hours? And those are the three, another question, by when? And how much time could you put into the business? A week. Of course, most people are going to say 4 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever they tell you. And then the closing is, if I if I can help you to earn $5,000 a month or more in 6 months, if that's what I said, or less, by doing it 5 hours a week, would you join me? Basically, I say it slow to make sure that I understand that people are getting it. Again, because remember, you ask, what do you like? What else do you like? How much money would you like to earn? And how much time and when, by when, the latest, and how much time are you willing to put into it? And then the way that you close is you say, okay, if I can help you to make those $5,000 a month in 6 months or less, 5,000 or more, you always say that 5,000 or more, and if the time that they say 6 months, 6 months or less, you always throw that. Working 5 hours a week, if that's what I say, whatever they say, would you join with me right now? You see, it's really strong because you are giving already. The person gave you already the possible commitment, and you are closing. And you repeat that again if the person doesn't sign up again in the next time. You're going to see that next week, but I give you an advance. It's really powerful. And if you have the book, it's there. You just have to go to that chapter and the skill number 4, and it's there. What I just told you.
And George,
Probably a little different words because I'm using my own words, but that's the spirit. And that, by the way, that's something that you probably got when you were reading chapter 2 and skills on the skills on how to invite people. One of the things that Eric Worre was saying is that you don't have to read the script word by word. You can put it in your own words, but make sure you keep it short and keep the spirit of the script. And that's the secret on using the scripts. As soon as you start making big changes, whoa, that's bad. But use your own words, how you feel more comfortable saying. That doesn't mean, let me repeat again, that doesn't mean to change it to make you feel more comfortable and not ask the questions like for sure, for sure. What I mean is that to use in words that you use normally because you don't want to sound to somebody else using words that you never use. And it's why you put it on your own words. And like in my case, obviously English is not my first language. People know how I am talk, and then suddenly I start talking with a British or actually Minnesota accent like Eddie Worre. They realize that that's not me. But anyway, I think that I answered that question.
yeah,
I hope
and
I answered.
and George, funny that you mentioned, about this business of saying, what if I could show you a way to earn 5,000 a month and within the next 6 months or less? Because 11 years ago, we had a similar conversation when you sponsored me. And
Mm-hmm.
it took me a little longer than the 6 months. It probably was more like 2 years. But you know what? I'm not complaining. And and by the way, whenever we talk about incomes, we need to refer you to our income web site disclosure website, isagenixearnings.com, just so that
Mm-hmm.
you understand. And actually, that is a great website to visit so that you can get to see the incomes that are actually earned by so many of the business builders in Isagenix.
Yeah. By the way, going back into the question, it's actually the same question that you ask when you are for committing somebody. If I send you a video, would you watch it? If I show you how I can help you to get that money, would you join me? You see, if I would, that's the most powerful combination of questions when you are talking to somebody, when you want to commit somebody to anything, even your kids. It's a great combination. It has a big background and for those of you in neurolinguistic programming, etc. But if I were you, if I show you how to earn those $5,000 or more in 6 months or less, will you join me or will you join now? And then people are going to be, wow. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody sign up, obviously, because nobody is going to sign up 100% of the people because many people may need more exposure. Some people are not ready, obviously. But that's really powerful, really powerful in the closing or when you are committing somebody to anybody. And that's in the book, by the way, in chapter 2. I mean, it's skill number 2, chapter 4, where they talk about inviting people to events. Eric Ward talked about the importance of this phrase, and then he repeated it in the closing. But anyway.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mention NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, many of you might not know what it is, but it might be worth also researching it. We just had here last week Roberto Perez, one of our top Hispanic earners, a 4-star Golden Circle. and his wife Carenza were in Miami actually getting certification to become NLP instructors. And NLP has helped Roberto quite a bit to become as successful as he and Carenza
By the
are.
way, you don't have to be certified on that. It's a great thing to read. And if you have read the Anthony Robbins, any of the Anthony Robbins material, you're learning NLP. He doesn't call it, he call it neuro conditioning something. I forgot how they call it. But when you go to his first book, Personal Power, he talks about his beginnings on NLP. And if you have read his material and you follow his CDs, etc., then you already learn a lot of
Yes.
the how NLP works.
And all you need really is the basics,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, just by reading the GoPro book, you get the basics
Yes.
right in
Yeah.
there.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have because NLP training takes 14 days. You don't
14.
want to do that. Yeah. Again, you just follow what they are in the scripts of GoPro, and I tell you, 90% of the people are successful millionaires in Axogenics. They never had tried an NLP trainer. I don't dare to say 100% because I may be missing a few, but most people have never done an NLP trainer. However, they have followed trainers like Michael Klaus and like Anthony Robbins, like I say, like Eric Worre. All these guys know how to use words, and it's because or they have been trained as an NLP trainers. Eric Worre has not, but he was trained by great networkers that they had a background on it, and obviously it's why those words are so important. They are a reason to be there. Every time I use a word, it's because there is a reason for that word there in certain scripts. And again, it's why it's so important. Yeah, you use your own words, your own style, because obviously everybody has a different way to express, but to make sure to keep it the spirit of the script and your on your own words, obviously, in your own
For
words.
sure, for sure.
Anyway, Alex.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's exactly what why we have the scripts and why we follow the scripts,
Yeah.
because they have that combination of words and phrases that actually have been proven to work best in there. So we actually don't have any more questions, George,
Okay,
and we're past
that's really
our
good. It made
yeah.
me feel that most of you are reading the book, or all of you are reading the book. But again, get stick to that book really strong. Make sure that when you sign somebody up, make sure that the person get the book. And one of the things that I do, if the person comes with a president pack, I give them the book or the CDs because they cost the same actually. It's interesting, unless they have an offer or something like that. But I prefer the book because you use it as a manual. Because although some people prefer to listen to, or still there's something about highlighting stuff.
That's
But
true.
anyway,
And
okay,
yeah,
yeah, go
and
ahead.
George, remember I'm a technology guy, and on the Kindle and on the iPad, you can highlight quite well.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because I'm like that. I'm kind of a little nerd too because I have it also in my Kindle. I have it on CDs, and I write it. And on top of that, I got the videos.
Great, great.
I like to be exposed on everything. But guys, okay, next week we're gonna continue. In about 3 weeks, I'm gonna be getting married, and I think that Monday is my honeymoon. But probably that would be for the last session. Or maybe I think we saw that actually I would have covered all the sessions by then. By then, I don't remember. But anyway, guys, and I don't know if you knew that I was getting married. Some of you probably are going to start saying, "What, Georgie? Are you
Well,
crazy?"
congratulations, George.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, and it's going to be the next. We have about I think 13, 14 weeks for convention. And it's gonna be great, guys. Now we had to, but in order for it to be great for all of us, we had to make that we also put that action into. Even that I'm getting married, and some people are around me, they can tell I'm putting everything in a high action right now because I have big goals for this year. Isogenesis going into momentum. We hit over $2.6 million in a day again. and that when we had 2.5 first, but now we hit 2.6. And if you multiply for, do you have a calculator, Alex? What is
Yes,
365 times
I can
2.6?
ask Siri here.
Oh, Siri.
Okay, hold
Okay,
on
it's
just one
around
second.
900 and something million, 930 million, I think.
949 million.
Okay, I missed by 10. Okay, it's about $940 million a year now. We have not hit it every day. That's why we're not going to have 940 million, and we just hit the 2.6. But this year, my guess is it's going to be around $600 million. That's an increase of over $150 million over last year. And next year, because we are just in May, I predict that we are going to hit $1 billion. And guys, right now is the time to go in gear, because let me tell you one thing. The biggest fortunes in network marketing has been made after a company hits between $500 million and about, well, let's talk about the biggest companies right now. Herbalife, $5 billion. Or Amway, the guy that is the number one income earner in Amway. He didn't come into Amway until the company was 13 years old, and today he represents his volume is over $8 billion a year. And this guy came 13 years, and the first year he didn't know what to do, and he filed for bankruptcy. Finally, I think it was in 73, the Amway started in 58. He got it. He knew that he needed a system. He was selling products. I guess if somebody has wonder if somebody else is having that mistake. He was just selling products, and he realized that no, you have to build the network. This guy created a system, and he was the one that made famous the show the plan Fridays. And the same, the person in Herbalife, number one distributor, close to 7 figures per month, no, not per year, close to 7. The same thing. This guy came after 12 years in Herbalife, and today he's the number one in the company. And these are multi-billion-dollar companies. Guys, it's our time. Now, we don't have to earn 7 figures per month or anything like that. But the cool thing is the potential is there. The other thing that's impressive, Isogenics, we're only in 10 countries. And our volume is higher than many companies that are in 20 and 25 countries. Can't you imagine what is going to happen? And now today, with with social media, and I'm sure I'm going to do our video on our webinar, with social media, you can have people in every part of the planet where Isogen is getting. Not only have a very strong organization in the home front, that, by the way, the U.S. is the strongest market. It's why it's where you want to have the strong part of your business. But then you can have people all over the place. By the way, it's not the other way around. When we open Colombia, many people say, oh, yeah, I want to have an open Colombia. That's my future. No, it's not. Your future is the U.S. because it's where we have the strongest market, the strongest economy. It doesn't matter. The up and downs still is the stronger economy. And also it's where more entrepreneurs are per capita than any other country in the world, because we see China growing, but the percent of entrepreneurs is really, really small. We see India growing, but the percent of I'm talking about the economy is very, very small. It's why this pool of resources that we entrepreneur, and the best way is Shark Tank. I'm giving an advertisement. Shark Tank, they received over 40,000 applications last year for people that wanted to be on the Shark Tank show. And this is a show about entrepreneurs. Guys, we have an incredible gold mine here in the U.S. And like I said when I was in the other company, and probably Alex remember, and the other company I said when that company opened in Europe, opened in England, everybody got excited about Europe. And I said in a conference call, I said, great, we had the rest of the United States for us because everybody's getting distracted with other countries. And that's when I went to my next rank in really, really short time. I think it was 6 weeks when very few people had done it in less than 3 or 4 months at that rank. But it's because, guys, right now is the time. We have the tools, we have the credibility, we have everything. And we have the momentum. The cool thing of building a momentum is create excitement. We see all these new millionaires that are coming in ICG. It seems that every week there's somebody new. The last one was Emily and Hayden, 26-year-old. Guys, well, I could talk about that forever, but right now is the time. And how... And to see the opportunity, and when I say the United States, I'm including the whole North America. With a section in Toronto where they have big meetings, you go to most cities in Canada, for example, and Alberta, Or they are big cities and they are really small meetings. You go to Montreal in Quebec, very small meetings. And guys, this is in Canada, and the US the same thing. How many places you can have a big meeting? They have a university with 700 people in New Jersey, and many people say, "Wow, that's huge." Guys, those 3 states that are there, they have millions of people. That's really small, really small. They have more people in meetings in a smaller city in Toronto that is a smaller population that they have in New Jersey, bigger meetings. It's why, guys, the opportunity is enormous. In Montreal, in the company we were before, Montreal was a huge market. I mean, they were doing meetings with 3,000 or 4,000 people. Right now, I don't think you can get 150 people unless there is a company that bring people from all over the place now. But anyway, gosh, I could get excited here. In San Diego, let me tell San Diego, Los Angeles, those meetings are small. San Francisco is small. Houston, what, 30 people, the average meetings? San Antonio, geez, smaller meetings. Florida, Miami. How big are the meetings in Florida or Miami, Alex?
Well, we're there in the
regular
100
meeting.
plus.
I'm not talking about a special event that the company bring a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, that's true, and and that's why there's so much room for improvement.
Yeah, and even in special events, I don't think they have had more than 300 people, no?
Yeah, probably.
And we're talking about Miami, Florida. Well, I used to put meetings in my company. That was my first company. I used to put meetings for my group in Florida, 500 or 600 people. Most of my group was in Florida at the time because I was living in Florida. And I can keep going from city to city. Even Phoenix, where the company is. Come on, guys. Kansas City has bigger meetings than all the cities that I'm telling you, and even that is not a huge meetings. But guys, it's an incredible opportunity. It's why we are so excited here in Utah. We have a meeting with 185 people 2 weeks ago. Our regular meetings are average probably 30 to 40 people, but there are more than one in a week. There are about 3 or 4. But my goal is here, we can get to 1,000 people. But it can happen everywhere. But then besides the meetings, we had the webinars, we had the conference call, we have all these things where you can have people from all over the world. My vision is as soon as we have the system set up right, the way they're supposed to be, have Google Hangouts with thousands of people all over the world, having people from not only the U.S. and Canada, but having people from Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Anyway, wow. Okay, let me take a breath because I'm getting to it. But anyway, this is cool.
Well, the future certainly is bright. And for each and every single one that's on our webinar today or watching this on one of the replays at howtogetgoing.com, just realize the potential there is and how your life could change within a few months, within a few years, within the next decade. It could be absolutely incredible.
By the way, let me keep talking about areas. What about the Midwest? What about all the way Chicago and Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, and gosh, guys, Wisconsin. Whoa, sorry, but I just keep excited. It's incredible. These are good areas in network marketing. In Ohio, and the first company I was, Ohio, they did a presentation one time with 2,000 people, and this was a company that was terrible. That's why I left. That's why they filed for bankruptcy. But anyway, and disappeared, doesn't exist anymore. and I had big groups and the company in general groups in Columbus, and mostly was Columbus, Ohio, and Cincinnati. But we were starting to expand into other cities when the company filed for bankruptcy, and I think that's a bad thing. But anyway, the world is. I'm saying, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, just signed up a guy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it's funny because the guy said, well, did they have big meetings here? And I said, hey, that's you. You are the big meetings. He said, really? Okay. Wow.
Excellent. So,
okay. Alex, are you there?
Yeah.
I thought you went out running to start getting people into the meetings in Florida, Miami, etc. And by the way, for those of you, can I say something else because I know I'm getting deep?
Sure.
I know some people have been asking me about the training that I did on Saturday. Like I said before, the reason we didn't Skype it is because it was too long. But however, um, we are working on that on something like that because again, for many people, this is going to be cool when they see that they can expand the world market. Meanwhile, you can watch the videos that we have in how to never run out of prospects because I love that what we did on Saturday is based on that. Although we got into other tools, other ideas, but that you're going to see that today. After we finish the series with GoPro, we are going to get into some webinars on that. But before that, I'm going to do some videos and on that, and also for people in our organization. We are setting up, and I know there are going to some people that are not in our organization on the here, but we are going to be setting up a serious contest too that you are going to hear really quick next week, actually. This week? Yeah, next week, at the end of next week, because we are going to start a 10-week blast into convention. It's not 90 days, it's a 70 days, but there is a reason we are doing it like that because that's something that we are going to add. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being patient and listening to me going crazy about the excitement that we have about Isogenics. I'm really excited, guys. I'm really, really blessed to be in this company. I'm really blessed to have many of you to be my friends. Even some of you that I just met. Some of you I don't even met. I have not met yet in person, but on the phone we have become friends. It's amazing to be in something like this, something that is changing their life. Yeah, everything is not perfect. It's not rosy. You are going to have challenges, but you know what? Even when you do things that you love, like playing sports, if you play any sport, baseball, etc., you have challenges there. You get struck out once in a while. You get out once in a while. They hit you with a ball in the head once in a while, or you do cycling or whatever. But you know, it's fun. The whole picture is fun because we are not only assisting so many people to find their dreams, but at the same time we are also reaching our dreams. But anyway, okay, I'm again excited working with all of you, and thank you very much, guys. And I see you next Monday.
Absolutely true. Well, guys, thank you, George, and thank you each and every single one of you for joining us tonight. And you can see what an Isogenics millionaire, one of the main components that they have is being truly excited about the future. So
yeah, I feel like a little kid. It's funny. If I have a camera right now, people would think that I'm crazy because while I was talking, I was jumping. Seriously. Okay, and I was with a hat, Austin, Texas hat in my head. Interesting. Okay.
Well, George, thank you so much, and